Allan Dib.
Allan Dib.
Allan Dib.
I found that simple scales, fancy fails. So that's been absolutely my experience. You know, something being simple is a sign that someone is really on the right track. And like I said, simple is different to easy. And I find that's the case in almost all endeavors in life.
Welcome to Get Mic'd, the podcast that dives deep into the strategies behind building a notable brand. I'm your host, Katie Zeppieri, founder and chief brand strategist of the Mic Drop Agency. In today's episode, I sat down with Allan Dib, a serial entrepreneur, rebellious marketer, and best-selling author of The One-Page Marketing Plan and also Lean Marketing. Allan is the managing dictator of lean marketing, where he empowers businesses to master marketing through simple frameworks and innovative training. Allan has successfully started, grown, and exited multiple businesses, including a telecommunications company that earned a spot in Australia's prestigious BRW Fast 100 list. As a highly sought-after business coach, consultant, and public speaker, Allan frequently shares his proven strategies and cutting-edge tactics with audiences worldwide. In our conversation, Allan shares his unique marketing approach, emphasizing simplicity and effectiveness. We explore the principles behind his best-selling books, his philosophy on lean marketing, and how businesses can achieve significant growth with the right strategies. This conversation is packed with actionable insights that you'll be able to implement right away. I hope you enjoy listening. Allan, welcome to Get Mic'd.
Hey, Katie, pleasure to be on.
We are speaking to each other from quite a distance apart, and it is very early where you are.
It's not too bad. It's slightly earlier than I'd normally be doing podcasts, but it's all good for you, Katie. Why not?
You're up at 6 a.m. anyway. You're ready to start your day.
I'm ready to go.
I'm so curious, actually, to dive in at a later moment about your routine, because you are one productive person. And I will say, Allan, when I'm doing a little bit of research on guests, like one of the places that I obviously go is their LinkedIn page. And you have one of my favorite about sections that I've ever seen on a LinkedIn profile. And just for the audience, Allan makes it so digestible, really breaks down his experience in a fun, easy to read kind of bullet point way. And then the best part is right at the bottom of your page, which is the perfect opportunity to encourage people to connect with someone. You've got how I can help you, and you've got 6 bullets breaking that down.
Yep, that's right. That's right. Well, look, a large part of my work is really just simplifying things and making it easy, and also, if possible, making it entertaining, because I believe you can't be. A lot of people say, hey, people have short attention spans. You've got to keep your videos short, your text short, all of this sort of stuff. And what I've found is people really have short boredom spans. I mean, when you're entertained, you will listen to a podcast for 3 hours. You'll binge watch a Netflix series. So it's not true that people have short attention spans. People have short boredom spans. So that's what I try to do with my work, is make it easy to read or easy to consume, easy to be digestible, and get people to take action.
What is the recipe for knowing, whether or not your content is entertaining enough? How do you sort of judge, is this boring?
Well, you'll start to get a pretty good sense. I was talking to a client recently, and he wanted to write a book, and it is a great idea to write a book. And he's like, how do I know if my audience will really gel with this stuff? And nowadays it's so easy, because we can get almost immediate feedback. Like, I can write a LinkedIn post and it can either be a hit and gets shared, lots of comments, all of that sort of thing, or it just flops. And so you can get feedback from your market almost immediately. Whereas I told him, look, a book project can be 2 years of your life. And if you don't really know your audience well, you might, front load all of that time, effort, and work, and find out, hey, it's not really gelling with your audience. So I suggested to him he write daily on LinkedIn for a period of time and see what hits, what really connects with his audience, and what doesn't. And you get pretty quick feedback.
That's a really good, I think a book's a really good analogy for that, because you're right. It'd be 2 years writing something, editing, refining, and then you publish it. I think that same idea can be applied to someone launching a startup, because especially for tech companies, they're building out a product in advance, right? And I'm wondering, what would sort of be your take on how companies can ensure they get to product market fit faster, perhaps using some of these simplifying marketing techniques?
Yeah, so essentially what I was talking about is an MVP for writers, but an MVP sort of comes from the idea Eric Ries did in his book The Lean Startup. And so an MVP is just a small version of whatever you're doing, basically with very, very cut down features. I don't think that's going to be a new revelation, but it seems to be something that people are doing less and less these days for, I don't know what reason. A lot of people are raise, maybe because it's very easy to raise venture capital or whatever it is. But I think the idea of an MVP still very, very much applies. Can you get people to pay you for what you've got even before you ship? So I like to test ideas on, as they say, check writers rather than people will survey people. Would you buy this product? Oh, yeah, sure, I'd buy this
Yeah.
product. Well, that's very different to, here you go, here's the payment, here's the Stripe link, pay for this product and we'll build it. And so uh, the best, the best startups, the best tech companies, the best marketers really start with people who, talk with their wallet, not with their mouth.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, lean marketing is the name of your company. It's the name of one of your two books. It
Yes.
seems to be this philosophy that you consult on, you speak
Yeah.
about, you travel all over
Right.
to talk about these concepts. Where did this begin for you? Take us through just like a digest of your career journey that sort of led to you discovering and really leaning into this lean marketing concept.
Yeah. So I'd written my book, the one that you held up, One Page Marketing Plan, maybe, I think it came out in 2018. And then a couple of years later, I was invited to a big manufacturing conference to speak on, I was the speaker speaking on marketing. But mostly it was a manufacturing conference and people talking all things manufacturing. And I kept hearing all this word lean this, all of that sort of stuff. And, I'd sort of had a cursory overview of it or didn't really know much about it. But then a fellow by the name of Luis walks up to me and he says, Alan, I consider your book, The One Page Marketing Plan, lean marketing. And I'd never heard that phrase before. I didn't think much of it at the time. I thanked him. We chatted for a little bit. He later became a client and we worked together. But it kind of stayed in my mind. And then I looked into lean, and lean is all about doing more with less, less equipment, less time, less space, less manufacturing, really simplifying things down to the bare bones and only providing exactly what the customer wants. And, I thought to myself, this is exactly what we need from a marketing perspective, because every podcast we listen to, every book we read, every conference we go to, they tell us to do more, more, more. A new tool, a new AI thing, a new funnel, a new brand strategy, a new whatever. And not that any of those things are bad, but everyone's trying to add. Everyone's trying to add more cost, more time, more energy, more team. And when I looked into it, the best marketers in the world have a very, very lean approach to marketing. They do one or two things very, very well, but they do them very consistently. And that was very different to what I was seeing, the advice that was being given. So to do more, to do it more often, to be on more social platforms, to do all of those sorts of things. And so that gap between what I was seeing the best marketers in the world do and what advice was coming out was the reason why I wrote Lean Marketing, and I really lent into the lean concept with marketing, because it's something that is going to make the biggest difference for your business as a marketer.
Why is it so important to strip things down? You're talking about excess and adding, and I think it's really easy to say we need to do 10 more things, like as
Yes.
marketers or as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur. Why is it important to strip things back? And how can someone discover what are the things to kind of keep and what are the things to remove?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the reason why it's important is I found that simple scales, fancy fails. So that's been absolutely my experience. Uh, Something being simple is a sign that someone is really on the right track. Because when we think about almost any endeavor in life, usually the steps to getting there are pretty simple. Now, simple is different to easy. So, for example, if I want to get strong, it's pretty simple. I just go to the gym and I lift weights. And in fact, over the last 4 years, I've completely transformed my body by just doing three movements in the gym. I did the deadlift, I did the bench press, I did the squat, and I just keep doing them over and over. And I show up in the gym 3 or 4 times a week. I just do the same movements with heavier and heavier weights. Now, yes, we could talk about protein and we could talk about pre-workout shakes and all of that sort of stuff. And that may move the needle a little bit here or there or whatever. But really, the main part of getting to that result is just the simple stuff that you do daily, weekly, monthly, and it scales. So one day I was able to lift 100 pounds. The next, another few months later, I'm able to lift 200 pounds, so on and so forth. So it's pretty simple, right? And like I said, simple is different to easy. And I find that's the case in almost all endeavors in life, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, whether it's finance, whether it's health, whether it's whatever. The steps to getting to where you want to go are pretty simple. And you can add complexity as you go. But what I find is, especially in business, complexity will come as a result of scale. You don't need to add it. You don't need to add 100 different things. You don't need 100 different moving parts. Complexity will come as a result of scale, having more people, having more revenue, having more clients, all of that sort of thing. That'll automatically bring complexity to your business. So if you've got a plan that kind of breaks your head and is really super complicated, you're probably on the wrong track.
Yeah, I'm thinking of, was it Mark Twain who said, if I had more time, I would have written like a shorter book, like that kind
That's
of
exactly
philosophy. And to your point, simple is not easy. So
yes.
I'm sure a large part of what you're doing for the clients that you work with is helping them develop a strategy for simplification.
That's exactly right.
How would you approach that? How would somebody, if they were working with you, kind of get started on that plan?
Yeah, well, you held up my book, The One-Page Marketing Plan, and the core of that is this. This is my own one-page marketing plan. So literally everything that we do from a marketing perspective is here on one page. And so the reason I wrote the one-page marketing plan is because, again, I saw a lot of complexity. I was a marketing consultant, still am. I'd start working with a client and I'd be like, all right, let's put together a marketing plan. And they're like, I don't know, too difficult, not sure where to start, would need to hire a consultant to help me put one together, all of this sort of stuff. So I created this process, the one-page marketing plan process, where literally in a single page, we can map out your whole entire marketing journey. And there's not a lot of space on one page. So you've really got to get down to the things that actually matter, right? You can't start with charts and graphs and all of that. And I'm not saying any of those things are bad either. Yes, of course, you could expand on one part of your plan or whatever, but high level, if we can't communicate to our team, to our vendors, to the people who buy from us, all of that in a single page, what our marketing plan is, well, then it's probably too complex. You're probably on the wrong track.
So for those who have not yet read your book, The One-Page Marketing Plan, can you break down what are some of the ideas and concepts that people should consider?
Yeah. So it's essentially a book to guide you through creating a marketing strategy, and it's broken up into 9 discrete blocks. So if you're watching this, you can kind of see it. It's 9 blocks. If you're listening, it's if you visualize a single page broken up into 3 blocks of 3. So essentially 9 squares. The first talks about your target market, which is really foundational, figuring out who are our people. So I often say stuff for our people, not people for our stuff. And, especially from a Silicon Valley company, I think I've heard Paul Graham say people often a mistake people make is they've got a solution in search of a problem, right? So they've got this cool tech, this cool app, this cool technology, or whatever, and now let's find out who needs it. Well, that's completely ass backwards. What we want to do is start with our market. Who are the people we want to serve? Who has a real need for what we've got? and then we provide them with a solution. Then we find out what's actually keeping them up at night, what's a real big problem in their life that we can help them with. So target market is really the foundational element. Then we move to messaging. Messaging is how do we connect with that target market in a way that they'll actually respond, in a way that they'll actually want to buy what we've got, or want to engage with our message, and essentially put their hand up and say, hey, I'm interested in what you've got to offer. Tell me more. And then the third block is media. So how do we reach that target market in a cost-effective way? So it's the bridge between our target market and our messaging. So what platform should we use to reach them? What media? How do we get our message out to them? So that kind of forms the awareness phase. So getting someone to kind of know that you exist. Then once they're aware, they maybe raise their hand, and by that I mean maybe they clicked on your landing page, maybe they clicked on your ad, maybe they called your office, or however you get people to respond. Now we want to do three things. We want to capture those leads, we want to nurture those leads, and then we want to convert those leads. So that's the second phase. So, and a lot of people are like, great, someone's bought from me. That's the end of marketing. And really, the money is made in the third phase, which I call the after phase. And that's delivering a world-class experience, increasing customer lifetime value, and then finally orchestrating and stimulating referrals. So that kind of very high level covers the whole process of putting together your own marketing plan in a comprehensive way, and you can document all of that on a single page.
Yeah, I think that's such a fascinating concept. And I really like that you talk about marketing not being done after the sale. How often do marketers get stuck in that mindset
Yeah.
of, oh, okay, we got the demo booked, the sale came through,
Yes.
I'm done.
Yes. Yes,
And
exactly right.
I've heard you speak about the potential to sell to your current customer base
Yes.
and how important that is. Talk to us a little bit about that, because I think sometimes it's easy to think we always need new top of funnel, which you do
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
But there's another approach to that as well, which I think you've spoken to.
Yeah, totally. So it is absolutely exciting to get new clients, and a large part of our marketing is focused on that. But it's been very rare that we've ever worked with a business and we haven't been able to like double it, even triple it in some circumstances without adding a single new client. It's because a lot of times there's so much value stored both in their current client relationships, in their past client relationships, and being able to leverage that. So, for example, we can raise prices for current clients. We can reactivate past clients. There are probably prospects that you had in your prospect list that you haven't re-engaged with. So there are a ton of strategies that are kind of in that after phase. Selling existing clients a higher level of service that you've got, or a higher level product that you've got. Turning one client into two by orchestrating and stimulating referrals. So all of those things sit in that after phase. And so there are so many strategies and so many tactics that you can deploy. And so, like I said, very few businesses couldn't double their business just by being clever about what they do in that after phase, figuring out a new something else to sell, or high level service, or high level product, or reactivating past clients in their current business. So the value is all there, and also in retaining their current clients. So if you reduce churn, again, you've increased that customer lifetime value. So it's really all about, I mean, when it comes down to it, marketing is about two variables, and they make all of the difference. Cost of customer acquisition. So how much does it cost me to acquire a customer? And then lifetime value. How much will I make in profit on the lifetime of a customer? And so, yes, we want to get that cost of customer acquisition down, and a lot of marketers focus on that. But another great way of doing it is, can we increase the lifetime value? Can we increase the tenure of the client? Can we increase how much the client spends? Can we move them to a higher level of value? And so that's another variable that really sits in that after phase. And a lot of people feel, oh, well, that's the delivery team, that's the customer service team. They'll take care of that. And yes, but you need to be involved. You need to arm them with the tools and things that they need to get that done.
Are there any nuances that should be considered for B2C versus B2B?
There's always nuances, but like I said, most of the stuff applies to most of the people. I think one of the nuances in B2B is there's often multiple decision makers. Even in B2C, sometimes you might be, especially if you're selling something high value, someone might say, I need to talk to my wife or my partner or whatever. But especially in B2B, there's usually almost always multiple decision makers. So if you're selling a software product, there might be the CTO. You've got to figure out, does the system integrate with their technology? Will the API work? All of that. So you've got to figure out the technical details. Then there might be the CFO who's like, all right, what's the return on investment going to be? What are we going to save versus what we're going to spend? All of that sort of thing. And sometimes, depending on how important the product is, even the CEO may have a say in what happens. So you want to have messaging customized to each decision maker along. And also, what a lot of people forget is end users, because the end user will usually make the product be a success or not. Sometimes the software is forced from above, but the getting an end user on board, bought in, making their job actually easy and making sure that they're having an easy time of it is very, very important as well. So really thinking through everybody, like if we planted a spy in that business, who's got a say, who could kill the deal, or who could make the deal go forward, and what would they be saying? Would the end user be going, look, we don't really need this, it just adds another step to what we do, or whatever else? Or would they be like, oh wow, this is awesome, this makes my job really, really easy? And so finding those supporters within the business that are going to help you to get the deal across the line, and more importantly than just get the deal across the line, is stay. Because what we want is not just the sale, but we want people to stay. We don't want very high churn, and we want a high lifetime value.
Yeah. And your one-page marketing plan is a very tangible, actionable book, which is the goal, right? Everybody can
Yes.
walk away and write their own marketing plan to fill the one sheet. So then that's interesting to me that you're, speaking on this topic, and somebody comes to you and says, lean marketing. Like that kind of feels like that's the bracket that you're in.
Yes.
So talking about your book and also your business, lean marketing, what are some of like the fundamental principles that you think about?
Yeah, so when we start working with a client, there's really a few core pillars that we think about. So, and again, we've tried to strip back as much as possible. We've gotten rid of all the fluff and the stuff that you don't need. So number one, unsurprisingly, we start working on their strategy, their one page marketing plan, figuring out, is your message really resonating with your target market? Who are your ideal clients? So if we exported all of your clients in a spreadsheet and sorted them from best to worst, who are the best, and then who are the ones we want to avoid, right? So who are the ones we want to target and get more of, and all of that sort of thing. And a lot of times clients are quite surprised by the results as to why somebody bought from them, or why they're doing business with them. And so a large part of what we do is client interviews, is figure out, okay, why are you buying? And people are often surprised if they're, I thought they were buying from me because they thought I was an amazing accountant, or we're an amazing legal firm, or whatever. And it's very rarely the actual core thing that you do. It's often the things that surround what you do, right? So being super responsive, or being fast, or whatever. Like, so when I think about it, I've switched accountants maybe 3 or 4 times in my business career. And it's never been because of how competent the accountant is at accounting, right? So they're all working with pretty much the same tax code. They've all got the same bag of tricks for legally minimizing tax and all of that sort of thing. So it's never been about the technical skill of the accountant. It's been just the common stuff like returning a phone call in a timely manner, responding to email, being proactive around wealth management and taxes and all of that sort of stuff. So it's kind of, you want to do the common thing uncommonly well is what often what I say. And clients are often surprised as to why someone buys. There's so much focus on the technical thing that we do, or the delivery, or customer or service, or whatever, but it's often something that's quite peripheral to what you do that really moves the needle with clients.
Do you believe that executives within a team should be asking these questions? Do you believe it's better if it's a third party? And what would be some ideas of questions that you could ask? Because that's the thing, right? Sometimes you feel like, okay, do my customers or clients know why they buy from me? Or how do I get them to go that level
Yeah.
deeper?
Yeah, I definitely think executives should be asking those questions, but having someone external, because it's sometimes hard to see the forest for the trees. So somebody external is a third party set of eyes who is not necessarily, you know, in the day to day of what you're doing. So I think that can be incredibly valuable. But something that I recommend to executives, and they often don't like this advice, is just spend a day inside of your customer service team, like responding to help desk tickets, to responding to that, and then also maybe a day a month, maybe a day a quarter, whatever it is, and also spend a day inside of your sales team. So respond to the inquiries, watch what your sales team is doing, and all of that, and you will be shocked and horrified. You'll be like, hang on, I thought we had solved this issue. I thought, why are we still getting complaints about this? Or hang on here, the way they're selling it, that's not the way we thought they were selling it. They're not highlighting this or that or the other or whatever else. So you'll start to see bugs or things that are broken or processes that are broken or whatever else. And so you're going to get a very, very good insight as to what's actually going on in your business, because a lot of times at the executive level, by the time information gets to you, it's been massaged and filtered and it's sanitized, and it's not necessarily exactly what's going on the ground.
Yes. And if you're talking to a customer one on one, what are some questions that you think would be really good to ask them to prompt them to give you this deeper insight?
Yeah. So some of the questions I like to ask is, what almost didn't make you buy? Like what was the stuff that you thought, oh, I don't know. So what almost didn't make you buy? So that's often a revealing question. Another question is, what other alternatives did you consider? And a lot of times people obsess about their competition, but most of the time, your real competition is the client either doing nothing or kind of doing it themselves or whatever. So, you know, there's almost no software that can't be replaced by a clunky spreadsheet or a Google Doc or something like that. So a lot of times your competition is not the other SaaS company that's competing in your space. It's like Google Sheets or Google
Status
Docs or
quo.
something like that. Yeah, some clunky, weird solution, right? So, and often that solution is free or pretty close to free, or appears to be free in terms of, software at least. So yeah, those things can be very, very revealing and can reveal what you're actually competing against, because often we get kind of obsessed with what our direct competitor is doing or whatever, and usually that's not necessarily who you're competing with.
Can you share any examples of a client brand that you've worked with who you've really helped transform their business through lean marketing approach?
Yeah, we worked with a legal firm, and it's more common these days, but at the time certainly it wasn't common at all. Most legal firms would just charge by the billable hour or by the day or whatever. And the problem with that is, the more incompetent you are, meaning the longer it takes, the more time you waste or whatever, the more money you make, which it's kind of a perverse incentive. And so I said to them, they were in an area of HR law where they knew that they could save clients a lot of money with structuring HR contracts properly, having proper HR processes, all of that sort of thing. So they were very confident in their deliverable. Now, the problem with that is, the more competent you are, the more systemized you are, the quicker you are, or whatever, the less you're going to get paid if you're charging billable hours. So it's kind of a completely reverse incentive. So I said, why don't we charge a monthly retainer? So just change your pricing model. We're not going to do billable hours anymore, and we're not going to do billable days. We're just going to say, look, we will come into your business, and for whatever it was, I think it was maybe $5,000 or $10,000 a month. For $5,000 a month, we're going to solve this HR issue for you. We're going to, if there's a litigation, we'll take it on. We'll make sure that there aren't litigations because we're going to structure the contracts correctly. We're going to have the right processes. We're going to make sure that your team is across all the procedures and what to do in a timely manner. So now they're being rewarded for being efficient, for being on top of things, for making sure that things are getting done and all of that sort of thing. Because otherwise, if they do get into a situation where there's legal issues or whatever, now the cost is borne on them because they're just still billing that retainer, that monthly fee. So that was a real game changer for them. So it reduces the risk for the client. We've got certainty around how much our legal costs are going to be. So we know our HR legal costs are all covered at $5,000 a month or whatever it was. I'm making up that figure, but it was somewhere around about that. And so the clients got certainty and they're being rewarded now for being more efficient. So incentives are aligned. So I look for those kind of opportunities where can we align the business model with both profit and the client getting an amazing result. So that's an example of, and it's not necessarily, something that would traditionally fall into the marketing bucket, but this is what I mean, really having that holistic view. Now we can look at what we're delivering for that retainer. We can look at increasing the value of that, making it a no-brainer for somebody to buy. So that all has a massive bearing on how successful the marketing is going to be.
Which is so unique for a law firm. You made it like outcome focused. And
yes,
I love just even hearing you kind of explain that because I'm thinking that there's so many different little tweaks that a company could make that could have a profound impact on their business. And one of those, to your point, might just be, how do we sort of repackage this? How do we just like either productize something or just adjust our pricing model?
Yeah. Pricing and packaging are huge levers that you can pull. I call these small hinges that swing big doors. So a lot of times just a change in pricing or how the product is packaged or changing to a subscription model or unbundling or bundling something can make massive differences.
Are there any tools or software that you recommend to clients and customers that help with marketing, metrics, monitoring performance and success?
For sure. We work with different clients in different industries, but often the CRM system is really the beating heart of your marketing. So what's happening with your email marketing, what's happening with how clients are managed and things like that. So I think of CRM software in three sort of different buckets. There's your marketing CRM, which will send emails and automations and all of those sorts of things. Then there's a sales CRM, which is what your sales team will use and manage pipeline and all of that sort of thing. And then there's your operational CRM system, which, the customer service team delivers, help desk, tickets, all of that. Now, all three of those could be one system, like a HubSpot or a Salesforce or something like that, or they can be separate systems. And depending on the industry, sometimes they are, for example, in medical, often they have already like a practice management system where they view x-rays and patient notes, and they've got specific, privacy legislation where, you really don't want to share that with the marketing department or have data leak or whatever, right? So in those cases, sometimes like in highly regulated industries, the operational CRM needs to be kind of a little bit separate. So depending on the client, depending on the circumstance, depending on the software stack that they've already got, we might make recommendations, and sometimes it's integrating with an existing system, sometimes it's completely scrapping a system, or sometimes it's just using the system that they've already got but enabling some of the features that they haven't enabled.
I want to talk about your personal brand for a moment because you have a great one. You've written two
Thank
books. You. Yeah, you're speaking. I feel like you've done a really good job at sort of channeling your expertise and making it clear who you help and who you serve. Yeah. Have you always been intentional about your personal brand? And what are some of your best tips to other entrepreneurs who are thinking about how they show up online?
Yeah, so my best tip is to really be yourself. Like a lot of people, and that sounds kind of like cliched advice, but a lot of times when you read someone's LinkedIn post or whatever, or their website or whatever it be, it's kind of in professional or academic language. It's not, their personality does not come out. It feels generic or whatever. And we're seeing a lot more of that now with the rise of like the likes of ChatGPT and other large language models and all of that. And so the thing that you can be most unique, there is only ever going to be one of you. So having your personality come out in your writing, in, or if you're doing videos or if you're doing podcasts or whatever, is so important, because some people are going to love it and some people are maybe not going to love it or whatever, and that's totally fine. So we want to find our people. We talked about that a little bit in the beginning. Stuff for our people, not people for our stuff. Now, there are some people who don't like my sense of humor or don't like my stuff, and that's totally fine. No problem. Find somebody else who you connect with, or who you gel with. But there's a lot of people who really like it. They like an entertaining way that I deliver marketing and business advice. And like I said in the beginning, I think that we don't have short attention spans. I think we have short boredom spans. So a lot of what I do is try to inject a little bit of fun and personality into what we do. Like, my latest book, this one, Lean Marketing, is almost 300 pages. Now, I could have written it like a boring textbook, essentially. And, you would have wanted to, stab yourself with a fork in the eye after page 5, right? But a large part of what I wanted to do is help the reader keep engaged. So I've got stories in there, I've got anecdotes, I've got jokes, all of that sort of thing. And although it's a serious topic, and regardless of what you do, you may be in a very serious industry, which is totally fine. But how do we keep someone engaged and connected? Because the book serves no purpose if after page 5 you put it down, you're like, this is so boring. Even if the information is great, what we want to do is really inject that personality. I think of it as the carrier for the message. So if we don't have something that's engaging or entertaining or whatever that someone's going to connect with, then we might as well not have that message, because people are going to disconnect pretty quickly. And I mean, we've seen that with YouTube, we've seen that with longer form, but now with shorter form video, for example, like TikTok, like Instagram Reels or whatever, like you've got a fraction of a second. So now we really understand the importance of hooking someone, of keeping them connected and all of that sort of thing, so that our message actually gets across. So many times, like, you'll see a reel with 3 views, and it's pretty obvious why they've got 3 views, because they start off with, oh, hi, I'm Sally or whatever, and like, flick, next, so yeah, exactly. So you've really got to keep people engaged and connected. And if you don't do that, your core message gets lost. Sally may have an amazing message, and a message that's as good or better than someone who gets 1 million views, but because she hasn't thought about the hook, she hasn't thought about keeping people connected, that's going to get lost.
That's true. Social media, and especially like the short form video push, has really made a lot of us, even consumers who just start posting their content, aware of what it takes to catch somebody's attention, because you have to, right? And that's why I think it's interesting seeing some influencers who, start posting their content, and they're maybe not even aware, like, or conscious of what it is, but they just start building an audience along the way. Yeah. I wanted your take on AI. You mentioned it, and generative AI in particular. We're now able to create our own GPTs. We can train models on our style, our language. Does that have a place, do you feel, in lean marketing? But are there any concerns that we should be aware of when it comes to kind of only using Gen AI to write our marketing materials?
Yeah, totally. So it's a super powerful tool. We use it every day in multiple different contexts. I've got a chapter about it in the new book. But the point I want to make, and I think that's going to be most important to people listening, is it's reducing the amount of friction and technical knowledge that you need to have to deliver marketing. In the past, if you were really good at kind of the technical aspect, like being able to hack SEO to get on the front page of Google or do pay-per-click or whatever. That was the bulk of what you needed. There was a very heavy technical lift, and you needed to know that stuff. Now that's getting easier and easier and easier by the day. The technical know-how is not the competitive advantage it used to be. So that brings up the question, well, what is? It's really comes down to the fundamental stuff, the stuff that we talked about, the target market, the message that really resonates with the target market, the way that you deliver your product in a unique and entertaining way, the way that you deliver a world-class experience. So the fundamentals now have become way more important. So what I love about this is my book, The One-Page Marketing Plan and Lean Marketing, have become more relevant as technology moves. A lot of people worry that their stuff gets less relevant as technology progresses, but now the stuff that I talk about, the fundamentals, have become way more relevant than ever before, and they continue to become more relevant because the technical component, the stuff that changes on a regular basis, the technology, the CRMs, the AI, the generative, all of that, that's become way easier. We used to need a lot of people in the marketing team who were really tech focused, the web developer, the pay-per-click person, the SEO person. And we still need those folks. They're important. But now it's the lift is getting a lot easier from a technical standpoint. You don't need as much technical knowledge. So you can really focus on the fundamentals. So people who've been winning in the past based on their ability to kind of hack the algorithm or keyword stuffing or hashtag this or that, they're starting to see a lot of negative impact. And the people who have something fundamentally good, meaning a strong message with a target market that really resonates with the product and good product market fit, they're now starting to really see the benefits of that. So that's something that I would keep in mind is, are you highly reliant on one or two technical tricks that are getting you all or most of your leads, or is what you've got really fundamentally good, and is it really resonating with your audience?
Don't neglect the basics, essentially.
Don't neglect the basics. Exactly right.
All right. Lean's a movement, I would say. Yeah. There is like a big lean crowd that talk about applying lean principles in so many aspects of their life. And I just wanted to ask about your own life outside of work too. Do you employ lean principles in how you spend and manage your days?
I sure do. I mean, you'd kind of be shocked if you saw my calendar, but I have every waking, where I got this idea, I have every waking moment essentially documented in my calendar from the time I wake up to the time I go to sleep.
Wow.
And where I got this idea, I heard lawyers sort of manage their time in 15-minute increments. And I'm like, you know what, my time is more valuable than most lawyers' time. Why wouldn't I do that? So, I have, I'm not saying it's a rigid day, but sometimes I know, like I can go back to last week and see, okay, I spent this many hours writing, this many hours doing whatever, eating lunch or whatever. And so I can go back into my day. I can go back 3 months and tell you what I was doing on May the 3rd that day. And, I've got that in different categories in Google Calendar. You can have different colors for different categories. So it's a good way to see how am I spending my most valuable resource, which is my time, right? So, and so I'm very, very careful about how I spend my time. Sometimes I'll have to move a block here or there or whatever, but mostly I have my routine mapped out. I have a morning routine. I'll do some reading. I'll do whatever, and then and I've got that mapped out. So very rarely do I have to. Not very rarely. Never do I wake up and think, okay, what am I going to do today? I feel like exercising, or I don't feel like exercising, or I feel like doing this or that. Most of my day is pretty much mapped out, and so where I have gaps, I'm pretty clear about what I want to do there.
How far in advance do you do that? Do you map it out?
Well, like I talk about daily, weekly, monthly. So most of my weeks look pretty similar unless I'm traveling or on holidays or doing something, whatever. So just like I advocate in my marketing, I do in my life. So when we do marketing, I believe marketing is a process, not an event. So it's the small things that we do daily, weekly, monthly that are going to really move the needle. Same thing in my personal life. I know that I've got to get into that gym 3-4 times a week. That I've got that allocated in my calendar. It's like an appointment with a client. I've got times allocated for when I eat, when I shower, when I do whatever, right? And so I know what my day is going to look like. That doesn't mean that doesn't change. Like something comes up, an opportunity, an emergency, or whatever. Sure, I can shift things around, but by default, it's already mapped out. I'm not like wondering, okay, what time should I have dinner today, or what time shall I, do exercise today? Do I feel like it? Do I not feel like it, or
It's
whatever?
just in the calendar.
Yeah, it's in the
Yeah.
calendar. Like, so it's there by default, and it can change, but there has to be a good reason for it to change.
I absolutely love asking successful entrepreneurs about their routines because you're right. I think it's so much more than just the things we do once in a while. It's the things that we
Yeah,
do all the time. So,
it is.
any non negotiables in your morning, evening routines?
Yeah, so the non-negotiables are definitely exercise, definitely walking as well. So I don't consider walking exercise, although it kind of is, but I think of walking more as for mental clarity, for getting some sunlight and things like that. So walking, exercising, reading, and then eating pretty clean. So they're really non-negotiables. I mean, I do the cold shower in the morning as well and things like that. But you can take it or leave it if you want. I don't think that's the key to my success. But
The cold
you know,
shower. That's what did it. Well, you're thinking really lean when you're in a cold shower. You're like, I
yeah,
just
you
need to
sure
focus on
are.
this for a short period of time. That's fantastic. I like that a lot. Thanks for sharing that with us. And just before we move to our lightning round, for those listening right now, and we're looking to implement a lean marketing practice today or
Yeah.
principle today, what is your like quick hit? Hey, here's one way that you could be thinking lean in your business today.
Yeah, so there literally is a book called Lean Thinking by James Womack. He has been very influential in the lean movement. He influenced me. He influenced the lean startup. So it's a good book. So of course I recommend my own book, for Lean Marketing. So that's a good book to help you think lean from a marketing perspective. So yeah.
All right, let's move into our lightning round. I've got 5 questions for you to get some tangible tips and resources. So, first, complete this sentence. To me, building a notable brand means.
Making a promise and keeping a promise.
What has been your brand's memorable mic drop moment?
To me, it's been really simplifying things. Every time I've simplified the business, removed products, removed things, I've made more money and more revenue.
What's one brand that you admire and why?
I love BMW. I think they do a really, really good job with branding and what they do with their product. So, yeah.
What are 3 resources you'd recommend? I know you mentioned a couple books already. What are 3
Yeah.
resources you'd recommend to someone looking to build their personal or corporate brand?
Yeah. I think books are the most underpriced asset you can get. Someone can spend 10 years of their life and put all that in a book for you, and you buy that for $20, $25 or whatever. So I already mentioned Lean Thinking. I think my book, Lean Marketing. And if I had to choose one more, if we're talking apps or things like that, I've recently started again using an app called Superhuman to manage my email. Fantastic. It's got AI all built in and works super fast. So there are 3 resources I'd recommend.
What's up and coming for you, Allan? Where can people connect with you outside of this conversation?
Yeah, people can connect with me at leanmarketing.com. You can buy my book everywhere books are sold, Amazon. They're very popular on audio at audible.com. And what's coming up for me, I'm starting to plan my next couple of books. They're still very half baked. I'm still working on the core concept, but yeah, that's what I'm working on at the moment.
I am so inspired to think lean. Allan, thanks so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Katie.
Thank you for tuning in to Get Mic'd. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback is invaluable in helping us continue to bring you thought-provoking conversations with thought leaders who share their secrets on how to build a notable brand.